Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This guy right to my side here, this is Tim, and this is Second Legacy. And thank you for stopping by. This is the Gun Channel, where we break down a little bit deeper all the goings-on in the 2A world. We add a little dash of sarcasm, perfected over time and age, and that is what we bring for you for your 2A all day. And that is what we're going to need, Tim, because we've got to watch MSNBC today. We have to do it.
We have to.
It's for the people. We do.
Oh.
It's for the people. So just keep that in mind as we do this, because we love the Second Legacy patrons, the beautiful people of Second Legacy. We're going to pass the blessings on to the next generation, but we got to do things like this to get there. So I'm going to be honest with you, Tim. I've got two people that I don't like that I'm about to show you on this clip.
Okay.
We've got Lawrence O'Donnell, who is a raging leftist lunatic. Fair, and I don't call people names, but I mean, if the shoe fits. And then we have the esteemed Sheldon Whitehouse, senator from Rhode Island. Senator from Rhode Island who said the thing that made me so happy, and we covered it. We're going to jump a little out of order. This is number 9, Doctor, just to prime the pump. Play it.
And not to belabor the point too much, but have you ever witnessed multiple injuries by musket, which was the firearm of choice at the time the Second Amendment was drafted?
I don't know that I've ever seen a musket wound.
Yeah. And I think the founders may well have had enough common sense to understand that in the time it takes to reload a musket, if somebody were going berserk in a tavern or at a musical performance, there'd be plenty of time to intervene, and that something categorically different takes place when an individual has access to weapons that either are or can be configured to fire rapid fire and to fire ammunition of an entirely different and more destructive nature because of the speed with which the projectile flies.
That's who we're dealing with, Tim.
Oh, my goodness.
That right there. Did you know that a .223 at high velocity can do more damage than a .72 caliber musket ball?
Yeah. Bowling ball. Yeah. So I guess the guy, first of all, doesn't know, like, say, his Revolutionary or Civil War history very well, because typically when you were hit by one of those big lead balls, lumbering lead balls, it would destroy so much bone and tissue that the only real solution was to amputate. And then if it hit you somewhere in the torso, there's just a good chance you're going to die.
You're gone.
Yeah. And let's, I don't have the image. I'll see if I can dig it up so Doc can throw it in editing, but they did have multiple firearms available to them at our founding that fired more than one shot. And beyond that, in a tavern, you know what they would probably do, which is even more lethal at close range, is just draw their saber and just go to work with a saber at close range in that particular time period. In other words, he's full of malarkey, I think is what the president would say.
100%. 100%.
So he's lying about whether or not they had repeating firearms at the founding of our nation. We did.
Or doesn't know. Right?
Or doesn't know. He doesn't know. He's either lying or he doesn't know. Either way, he's an idiot. He probably doesn't recognize the fact that you could legally own cannon during that time period when the Second Amendment was passed. Every single weapon that the government had, the Second Amendment was intended to extend or protect the right of the citizen to have the same firearm or weapon, including cannon or anything else they could come up with. High explosives, all the other things that we are not allowed to have today.
You know what I really miss? This is a lighthearted thing before you get into I'm trying to put off the MSNBC because it's so painful. I miss the verbiage on how we referred to firearms back then. So, for example, you just said they had cannon. Well, if you're not in the know, that means multiple cannon. The plural of cannon is cannon. So, I have a ship with 18 cannon. Hey, can we go with Glocks? I have a gun safe with 18 Glock.
Right.
25 rifle. It's just so, I love the way that I have a 18 cannon, but it's neither here nor there, Tim. It's not important. It's just me reminiscing about language of old. Let's get to the dopes, shall we? Are you ready for dopage?
We shall.
All right, this is number 7, Doc. Let's start it.
So are most of the false facts predictive of what will happen if we rule a certain way, or are some of them actually false statements about things that have already occurred?
I think it's sort of, when you're constructing an opinion, it has a logical, analytical shape to it. And in order to get where the Supreme Court wants to go, they often have to fill in facts that justify and support the arguments and the logic of their decision. And what they don't do is follow the rules, which are you should look at the congressional record for facts that Congress found if you're evaluating the support for a statute, or you should look at the judicial facts that trial courts found if you're looking at the facts that support a judicial decision.
So, translation, Senator Whitehouse is very upset that a court would have a predetermined outcome and then find facts to support it going backwards. Oh, where have we heard that before, Tim? Where's that? Does that sound familiar?
Vaguely familiar.
Vaguely. Like Ninth Circuit, the Second Circuit. We had the ruling on Measure 114. We've had every California Ninth Circuit decision. All of them go from a determined outcome of we want the gun control and then find facts on their way backwards and mentally massage it until they get the facts they need to support. But that's a very big problem at SCOTUS. It's very big. Yep. It's huge, Tim.
It's huge. It's bigly.
It's huge. It's going to be the greatest smackdown of MSNBC ever. Yeah.
I don't think they've ever been right about anything. I used to think weathermen were the only profession where you could go to work and be wrong 99% of the time and keep a job. I think MSNBC may actually meet that standard as well. You can literally go to work and be wrong every single day and still have a job.
It's impressive.
It is impressive. And even though when they get publicly smacked down, they just pretend like it didn't happen. Like whenever they get a court case that goes the way that they said it wasn't going to go or whatever it is, whenever they're wrong, I almost never hear them post a retraction or correct themselves or accept the decision. They'll go along with it. Take the whole Kyle Rittenhouse thing, for example. You'll still find people on MSNBC calling him a murderer, right? It's like, just totally disregard the outcome of the court case. And we'll just go ahead and run with the narrative that he's a murderer in their minds. It's just
keep on going.
Yeah.
Keep on going. Repeat, rinse and repeat. Eventually everyone will believe it.
Yep.
It's called gaslighting, my man. But that clip was all about the SCOTUS, and that was the setup, okay?
Okay.
Now, the reason that I showed it to you, because it was very important to the next one. This is the clip number 8. This is where they dare bring in the Bruen decision, and listen to how they conflate a few things here. Again, sitting senator in the United States Senate. This is number 8.
What they just did in Dobbs and in Bruen, the anti-choice and pro-gun decisions, was to say we're going to completely renovate the way we look at the law in these areas. And we're going to look instead at history and tradition, which means we get to make up our own facts about what history is and what tradition says. And that's why historians had such a field day making fun of the false historical facts that they found in those decisions. So it's a very broad pattern in the Supreme Court's political decision making.
History and tradition.
Do you know what word they forgot?
You mean of like actual written laws that they're referencing?
Yeah, but you know which word he forgot?
What?
The word text. In the Bruen decision,
he left
it
out.
Says history, text and tradition.
Like the actual written
his
parts.
Whole point, right. His whole point here is to lambast the Supreme Court by saying they're making up law and making up decision whole cloth because they use tradition and history. Well, if you forget the little word text right there in the middle, you could easily make it up. But if you just happen to omit it on accident, then you can very easily paint the Supreme Court as extremist judges because you intentionally misworded or left something out which adds context to the conversation. And he said Bruen. Did you hear that?
He did. And he went a step further. He said that basically the Supreme Court is making up history and making historians laugh at them.
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
Without citing what they made up and what the historians are laughing at. He's just lying to your face.
100% lying, completely omitting incredibly important language, very important words. And then he conflates the Dobbs decision, which if you guys weren't paying attention, that's the abortion ruling that came out with last year or in 2022, and Bruen. Okay, so just so you know,
it gets into history and tradition.
Right. History, text, and tradition, again, forgot the word. History, text, and tradition was the Bruen decision. Right. The Dobbs decision, of which he couched as an anti-choice, was quite literally states can do whatever they want The Supreme Court can't make law out of fiat.
Right.
I mean, it's literally the exact opposite of what he's saying across the board.
Right. He was wrong in everything he said.
Every single one. It is mind-boggling how bad this is.
Yep. And the people the people that watch this tripe, they absorb it and then they repeat it and they vote based upon it. That's the scary
Good word
part.
usage. Good word usage. Tripe. Nice.
Well, that's what it is.
That's very good. Little cow stomach, right?
How about caca, doo-doo, poo-poo?
Caca, poo-poo.
Okay. Anyway.
Yeah, very good.
I can use
very good.
I can use I can use grade school words if you prefer.
Yeah, if it makes I'll use crayons and I will draw slow. Yes, exactly. So, Tim, where we're at right now, I just went Canadian and I don't know why I did, but I went Canadian for a second. About when I'm looking at things to bring you, I always have a delicious treat at the end, a bonus snippet dessert clip, if you will, and I have one. And I want you to listen to exactly what Lawrence O'Donnell says, because what he says here, I'm just very curious about your reaction. This is number 10.
Yeah, I mean, on the Dobbs decision, when I saw that they were quoting from Old English common law, pre-colonial times, to English prosecutors and judges, I just immediately said, let's search and see how involved they were in witch trials. Because if you were practicing law in England at that time, there's a good chance. And of course, both of them were judges in witch trials.
Were a big deal back then to them.
Yeah, and both of them were witch prosecutors, and both of them believed witches should be put to death. And it was their view of abortion that Justice Alito wanted us to adopt in the 21st century.
What was he saying this just now? That it's these witch prosecutors and their vision of abortion that...
I've got
what?
you.
What is he talking about?
Let me help you out, because it's so insane what he just said for a lot of reasons. So what his whole point here was, Tim, was
we went
that
from the Magna Carta to witch trials to Dobbs.
Exactly right. So let me just high level this. So this guy on MSNBC, in an effort to invalidate the Supreme Court, of which he doesn't understand, because right now it's out of power and out of control and out of balance, because it's against him. He basically says, because they went with English common law and they referenced English law in their decisions, which, by the way, if you're not familiar, that is how all of our judicial decisions work. They do not just go, in 1934, that's our real deep history of law and jurisprudence. No, they all reference English law, very old law, because there's a continuity from like 1066-ish, roughly. Don't quote me on that. I'm not perfect on that. Going forward, and it's a continuation of legislation and litany and judicial opinions where they reference and build upon an existing legacy of decisions.
Right.
It gets better as time goes forward.
Right.
So what he's doing is he's saying, based on the fact that the guys who are supporting this method of judicial decision, they believe in witch trials. So we can't believe anything that they said.
Yeah.
In translation, what he just said was all previous judicial decisions based on anything outside of modern interpretation is completely null and void. Anything that they touched, effectively, all judicial history is gone.
Right. From
like the 1970s backward.
Can you imagine
all of it
the
gone.
chaos that would cause? Like every single court decision would conflict with previous court decisions, and we just go with the most recent and just throw out the past decision because, well, that's history. That was 2 weeks ago. We have a new mindset today. We would never get anywhere. We would constantly be going back and forth. It's almost as bad as like when a new president comes in to power, like President Trump, for example, signed all these executive orders the first day in office. When Biden comes in power, he just erases all those executive orders, changes the entire dynamic of so many different things, causes complete chaos, like at the border. And then we got to deal with it. And that's what they're proposing we do now with our judicial system is like just throw out all case law. And then every new decision is the standard until the next decision comes along, which means we would never have a stable system of government. Ever.
No, because so imagine everything that you just said. You nailed it. That was a great example. Imagine instead of going through that and saying, oh, we got to undo the last stuff for the 4 years. 1,000 years. Like that's what he's saying is delete all judicial history precedents and everything through our entire civilization of Western civilization, because I didn't like one of the views he held in a certain area. Now, the stuff that he espoused on freedom, that's okay. That's a different thing. But because he believed in witches, no, we got to throw all of it out because he's stupid.
Yep.
Genuinely, it's cancellation culture to the ultimate extreme.
Well,
they do the exact same thing with our founders.
They were flat earthers back then too. I mean, we just got to we just got to throw all this out, man. They were dumb.
They were heliocentric. Oh my God, the Earth was the freaking center of the Earth of the universe.
Yeah,
but that's the thing.
So everything else they said and did was just dumb.
Yeah. Exactly, dude. That's the whole point. What I'm trying to hit on this, because that clip speaks so much more about what their intentions are, because they basically want to erase anything and everything that has anything to do with that something bad. Hey, here's a hypothetical for you, Tim. Tell me if this tracks. Back, the foundations of democracy, that thing that they say all the time of the values of our democracy, our American democracy, they're going to destroy our democracy. By the way, it's constitutional republic. But if you were to go back to democracy, I don't know, like Greece, yeah. Athens, Athenians had slaves. Athenians practiced total war. Athenians had a very bad stretch with a lot of things. We should probably just throw democracy out the window. It's not. It's not good.
Yeah, republics and stuff.
Where does that stop?
Rome conquered the entire known world, and it was a republic, at least in part of its existence. And so we must do away with republics, because republics have a history of colonialism and all the other isms that these imperialists do.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
that's my point. Where does it stop?
They're idiots. But see, they have to erase history. And it's not just in the context in which we're talking about in today's video. These are the same people that are tearing down statues that were erected after the Civil War, statues that were erected after our founding. They're going after our entire history. Anything that conflicts with their worldview as of today, they want it erased so they can normalize whatever goofiness it is they want to promote today. And so it's a global effort. It is not just narrowly focused on firearms or Dobbs or any of the other decisions that have recently come out. This is a bigger picture, folks, as with so many things these people do. It truly is.
No, that was exceedingly well said.
Playing their long game,
it's global long game, socialism and
thank you.
Thank you. What's that word?
Communist.
That's the U. No. Oh,
you
feel better?
Come on.
You feel it? Did you get it out? I was going to say utopian. I was going to say utopian.
You got to socialism.
I like me some utopian.
Yeah, okay.
I like utopian, like utopianism, like you like communism. I just love saying that word.
Well,
utopian ideals.
Because communists believe communism is utopia. They're idiots. And on that
note, for the people at top.
Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you guys soon.